In this video, I'm going to be showing you some of the key digital marketing metrics and KPIs you need to start tracking to begin identifying the core bottlenecks in your business and more predictably growing your revenue month on month. You'll find the documents and template resources in the description below this video if you want to follow along and download the templates here to start building out your own marketing scorecard so you can start tracking this information going forward. Now, before we get into this, it is worth saying that the metrics and the KPIs are going to vary for every business because every business is unique and you're going to have different priorities and objectives in terms of what KPIs you want to be tracking. So a lot of the time, the information you're tracking on here may well change and evolve over time. But what I'm going to be showing you are some examples of some of the most fundamental metrics that you can begin tracking. And I'm going to be showing you some examples here in both the kind of B2B or just a lead generation style business where you're looking to generate leads and you're then maybe closing the sale over the phone or in person. And also some examples in e-com as well. So whether you're a SaaS business or whether you're selling physical products or digital products online, I'll show you an example of how that might look for you as well. So just starting with lead generation businesses here. So really this is broken down into a couple of core sections here in terms of the metrics. So these metrics here are really about our awareness. How effective are we at bringing people to the website, at even getting our name out there? So this is things like how many top 10 keyword rankings do we have? How many top 3 keyword rankings do we have? If you're active on social media channels, you might also want to plug in some of your social media metrics, i.e. your total YouTube views, your total TikTok views, LinkedIn views, whatever it might be, whatever social channels you are actively on, you want to start tracking those views to make sure that you are getting the brand out there. Okay, this stage is really about awareness. Now here, this is an indication of how good are we at turning that awareness into actual engaged visits to the website. So not only are we going to be tracking things like the website traffic, but we're also going to be looking at things like bounce rate and the average pages visited. So these metrics up here are going to be the kind of metrics that you'll get from the platforms themselves. So either Google Search Console, your YouTube analytics, your LinkedIn analytics, Facebook analytics, etc. When you come onto the website metrics, this is the kind of thing you're going to be using your Google Analytics account for to pull this additional layer of information through. Now, it is worth saying here, because a lot of people get tripped up on this, there will inevitably be some discrepancy in the data you see from, how many clicks you've had on social media to how much traffic is showing on your website. And that's mainly just because there have been a lot of new privacy regulations, GDPR, things like that have come out over the past couple of years. And it's getting harder and harder to track people. A lot of people, if they don't accept cookies on their browsers, you can't track them. And we've seen some massive dips in just terms of the overall data that you are able to gather on people. So don't be alarmed. It's perfectly normal to see if you're not quite getting the full picture, but this will at least allow you to start establishing a bit of a baseline to begin tracking and monitoring your process over time. So things like average pages visited and your bounce rate, which is how many people are leaving your site without taking any further interaction. They're not clicking a button, they're not visiting other pages. This gives you an indication of, how effective is your website at communicating your message or making it engaging, making people actually want to stay and interact and inquire or buy from you. It might also be an indication, and you might want to look back at the content to see, is the content we're putting out there attracting the wrong audience? Are we getting the wrong people? Is there a bit of a mismatch from what we're saying in our posts or our advertisements to what our website is communicating? So it's really important there is a congruency and consistency there. So this can start kind of identifying some of those potential issues. Now, this section here, so the light blue section is what you're going to be tracking in your CRM, right? So whether you're using HubSpot, Salesforce, ActiveCampaign, or any other CRM, this is where you're going to be tracking things like in the B2B space in particular, your lead magnet downloads, so your marketing qualified leads. So these aren't necessarily buyers at this stage, but these are people who have downloaded something. So maybe they've signed up to a webinar, maybe they've downloaded a free resource like a checklist or a lead magnet, a PDF of some sort. Next is your SQL. So these are your high intent leads. So these are people who have booked a call through your website with your sales team. They have submitted a contact form inquiry. So these are the more kind of high intent leads you're generating. You'll then also want to be tracking your total email subscribers. So how many email subscribers you're building over time, because this is going to be extremely important to building your pipeline. A lot of this will come from the MQLs you're generating. Most of the time, these will be going into your email subscribers. You may also have a separate newsletter as well. So this just allows you to track that separately. Again, these are just some examples, but these are some very fundamental things that you would want to be tracking. The next thing you'll want to track as well, and this, again, you'll have to get this data from within your CRM, is how many of your subscribers are you actually now turning? So how many of those MQLs or email subscribers are you turning into SQLs? This is an extremely important metric, because you don't want to be building this huge email list if you're not actually then turning those leads that you've got into sales. So if this number is low, it may indicate that you want to spend more time focusing on your email marketing campaigns, on setting up better automations and segmentation for your audience in your CRM, so that you can be delivering the right content to the right people at the right time. And what that should in essence be doing is building trust with your audience so that they are ready to buy from you and actually engage and take that next step. Now, the darker blue section here, this is really about your kind of the outcome, right? How much revenue are we generating? How many new clients have we signed up in annual recurring revenue? If you're not in a kind of recurring revenue business, you can just put total revenue here, signed contract value. Again, whatever makes sense for your business. This is really just to kind of show you a framework that you can start using. Then here, this section is really, really important. And this is why, there are tons of tools out there that supposedly integrate your entire marketing stack and they do all of these fancy things. I have yet to find something that makes it as flexible as what you can do in just an Excel document, a Google Sheets document. As much as I hate Excel, I'll be the first person to admit, it makes it so much easier just to have more flexibility in terms of adding notes, tracking things over time. So what you'll want to be doing here in each month is date stamping any changes that are happening within the business. This is really important, especially for larger companies where you maybe have a marketing team in place and you've got lots of people looking after different areas. It's very important that your entire team has access to and is updating this document with changes that are happening. Because what I very often see happening is people are making lots of changes in different areas. There is then, when they look at the results at the end of the quarter or the end of the following month, there's been a decrease in sales or a big increase in sales. And there's so many changes that have happened, it becomes very difficult to pinpoint why. So people are scrambling around trying to figure out what's actually happened, and nobody really knows because nobody's keeping track of when these changes. And they're like, oh, I think a couple of weeks ago we changed this thing or that thing, but nobody really knows. So what this will allow you to do is, let's say, for example, you implemented a new checkout page on your website, which could massively, this wouldn't really so much apply to B2B, but maybe a new sign up form. This could massively impact your conversions, right? Or maybe you've made, some things that seems relatively small, but making a phone number field mandatory on an inquiry form. Again, this could significantly impact your conversions. So you really want to be looking and making sure that you're recording all of these things. Now, whilst this is tracking month on month, what this will allow you to do is to then go back into your analytics, look at the Google Analytics, look at the conversion rate graph, and pinpoint that date, and you should then be able to see, there's been an increase exactly after that date. So you can pretty confidently say that that change has led to that increase or decrease. So it's worth saying that this document isn't about, you don't want to fill out this document with every single metric you can possibly track. This is another mistake I see a lot of people making, is there's so many different things you can track when it comes to marketing. And a lot of the time people end up with these horrible spreadsheets with everything in there. It gets added to, augmented over time, and it becomes unusable and people don't fill them in. So this document is really supposed to be a top level of each area. So again, you might have, impressions, clicks, click-through rate, frequency, all of these other metrics within the platforms themselves, but we're intentionally just taking out like 3 or 4 at each stage, on the platform level, the analytics level, the CRM level. We're just taking out some of those key KPIs at each stage. There are more you can track, but the key here is to, when we're seeing issues, when we're seeing bottlenecks, when we're seeing growth, we can then look in the platform and say, okay, why has that happened? For example, again, if we see that our total YouTube views have gone down, that's when we'd want to have a deeper look in our YouTube analytics. Have we been publishing content with the same frequency? Have we changed the content we're publishing recently? So this document isn't meant to be the answer to everything. It's supposed to be an easy document that your entire team can fill out, or if it's just you can fill out, to record the information and give you clues as to where to look to fix bottlenecks and then start growing your revenue, identifying where those issues are, putting fixes in place, testing new things to then start growing over time. Okay. Down here, this is formulas based on the inputs above. So for example, you've got the MQL conversion rate, which is basically your total website visits. And then it's all the amount of lead magnet downloads or MQL submissions you've had divided by the total website sessions you've had, right? So you can, again, create your own formulas on here, but really this is just to make it easier in terms of these are the core things that you want to be tracking. Because let's say, for example, you have, maybe you're running Facebook ads and you decide to turn off Facebook ads, and you were getting lots of leads from it. Well, naturally, if you've turned off a traffic source, your leads are going to go down, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because maybe the leads were just bad quality. So you don't want to just view the metric, as a bad thing because it's gone down. Whereas the conversion rate gives you a bit, even if your overall traffic has gone down, you're still seeing what's the overall conversion rate. So the conversion rates are generally better to track than just looking at the metrics themselves in isolation. So you can start seeing things here like, what's your email subscriber conversion rate? So again, if we see this is low, or we see it's like decreasing, that's when we need to say, okay, we need to look at our email campaigns and figure out like where we're going wrong here. Maybe our sales close rate is low, right? So we need to look at, there's a couple of things. If it's not the sales team, if we're, happy the sales team are doing their thing, then we need to look at the quality of leads coming in. But it kind of just gives us an indication of where the potential things are and what we can do to start fixing them. If I now come on to some examples on the e-commerce side, so it's going to be very, very similar really, and it's broken down in the same way. So we've got our awareness metrics up here. So again, depending on what channels you're running, you might want to be tracking things like your TikTok views, your Facebook views, your YouTube views, paid media spend, your top 10 keyword rankings, like how many keywords have you got in the top 10? How many keywords have you got in the top 3? So this is just gauging at a very high level, what is your overall visibility online? Here you're going to be tracking the analytics of your store, which again, you're going to pull from your Google Analytics or just website analytics platform. So your website traffic, and then your overall engagement metrics. So bounce rate, average pages visited, which again, either indicates a problem with the website itself or potentially a problem with the content you're putting out there, because there's a lack of congruency between what people are seeing in your posts and then what they're seeing on the website. So there may be, again, an inconsistency or an incongruency there. Now, when it comes to the tracking the information here, again, you're probably going to be using your CRM. So whether you're using Klaviyo, MailChimp, whatever it is you're using for your CRM for e-commerce, maybe you're using a a course platform, Kajabi or something like that. Or maybe you're just tracking in the back end through, your website, whether you're using Magento or WordPress or whatever it is. But this is where you'll want to be tracking the granular metrics, like how many website add to carts have you had? How many checkout starts have you had? How many overall transactions have you had? And then again, from there, we can begin monitoring things like our overall website conversion rate, our add to cart conversion rate. So for everyone who's adding to cart, how many are completing that transaction? And then our checkout completion rate. So when people hit the checkout, how many are completing that? And what this allows us to do is to kind of drill down a focus area. So again, if we see our overall website conversion rate going down, we need to look at what's the overall user experience. Like if we see our add to cart conversion rates going down, that may be an indication that, the product page itself, maybe we've made some changes to the product page where it's not as easy for someone to add to cart. Maybe we've removed some information that gave people the confidence to add something to cart. So this is really about helping us to identify again where those bottlenecks are so we can start putting the fixes in place. Average order value is another big one that we'll want to be tracking over time, because maybe we have a goal to increase this. So again, this is where we can start putting in our notes. Maybe, for example, we add in like order bumps or one-click upsells into our checkout process to increase the average order value. So again, we'd want to date stamp it, look at the analytics, and then look at the average order value over time to see, has there been an increase in our average order value since the date that we put those changes live? Maybe, for example, another thing that happens a lot in e-commerce, maybe there's a site-wide or like a category-specific price increase. Even if it's by 2 or 3%, so important that we're making like time date stamp changes of when these things are happening. So when we're getting really granular, we go outside of this spreadsheet, we look in our Google Analytics, we can set the date range and look on a graph, and we can see, okay, that's when this change went live, and our conversion rate has decreased or increased. Our revenue has decreased, increased. Our average order value has decreased, increased. Or maybe it's just stayed the same, right? So we know that change we made didn't really have much impact at all. So this is really just to help you identify where these things are so you can unplug the bottlenecks and then create growth in your business. Other things you might want to track are things like your email campaign revenue percentage. Like, are you doing enough on the email marketing side? Is it contributing to your overall business revenue? Businesses, I see a lot of businesses where they're not even generating 5% of revenue from email marketing. I've seen other businesses who are generating 30 to 40% of their total revenue from email marketing, hundreds of thousands of dollars from email marketing alone. It really just comes down to how well you're utilizing these platforms. So, there's all sorts of different things you can be tracking here. This is really just to give you some examples of the kind of things you can track. It is also worth saying this is going to change and evolve over time. Things like your paid media return on ad spend. Maybe you're not running paid media campaigns right now, and maybe eventually you will. So you may want to add some of these things on here over time so you can begin tracking them. I just want to reiterate again as well, on the e-commerce side, this isn't about you don't want to just look at any of these as a blanket metric, right? Because we might, for example, let's say this is showing our total paid media spend right now. You don't want to get to the stage where you're tracking the individual platform metrics on here, like your Facebook ad cost per click, your Facebook ad click-through rate. This isn't about that. This is about giving you very top level information so you can identify potential issues and then look at the platform level to properly diagnose and make any fixes where required, whether that be the website, whether it be the platform itself. This is about giving you a holistic viewpoint of the business and a place you can begin tracking these things over time, as well as, and this is really, really important, the things that you're actually changing in the business. So I really, really hope that video's helped. Like I say, I'm going to link to a copy of these templates and resources in the description below this video. You'll be able to download free access to our online training academy, where I've got lots of videos that go through this in more detail, and it'll walk you through some of this. And if you do want some more personalized advice on your marketing, be sure to book onto your free website and marketing review today, where one of our experienced strategists will go through your website and record you a 10 to 15-minute video screen share showing you how you can start increasing your website traffic and your website conversions. So make sure you book onto that. Hope the video's helped. If you haven't been on this channel before and you want more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video.